Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is now out playing in theaters. Let's just get this out of the way because everybody has said it, but it has to be addressed when talking about this movie. The animation is stunningly beautiful. I cannot think of another animated movie that looks this unique and overstimulates your senses as much as this movie does. Everything that worked from Into the Spider-Verse in terms of style, they have tripled down on with this movie. The filmmakers have taken full advantage of the multiverse aspects of this film by giving every dimension that we visit in this film a very unique style and look to its environment. This is the movie that we all wanted Multiverse of Madness to be. And there are so many artistic styles being used in this film that when they all come together, when they merge on the screen, yes, it can be a lot for your brain to process, but the creativity displayed before your eyes is nothing short of awe-inspiring and visually jaw-dropping, especially during the action sequences. And the editing in this film is so crisp. Do you guys remember that Ang Lee Hulk film and how they tried to edit it to look like comic panels during transitions at the time? They used that same technique for many scenes and transitions in this movie, but they're actually done well. This is definitely the comic book movie that feels the most like you're reading a comic book as you're watching it. And with the multiverse aspect of this movie, you get a lot of cameos and Easter eggs when it comes to the Spider People. And when seeing the sheer volume of how many Spider-Men were going to be in this movie in the trailers, I will admit that I was worried going in that they might just end up being a gimmick in the movie. And while there are definitely some fan service moments and some really fun surprises, what I loved about how they were used the most is that they're actually in service to the story, why they are there and why they're showing you all these Easter eggs and all these different Spider People. The movie, for the most part, finds a way to make sense as to why these are being included, to the point that they add to the story and to the movie as opposed to distract from it, and they never lose the focus of what this movie should be focused on, which is Gwen and Miles. And honestly, for me, Gwen was the standout of this movie. They have expanded her role so much more for this film that the argument could be made that this is actually her movie. In fact, the emotional heartbeat of this film does kind of belong to Gwen in many ways, and the personal journey that her character is going on in this film, which involves a pretty intense conflict that she's having with her father, Captain Stacy, back on her Earth. I gotta say that the story that Gwen had in this movie really gripped me, and she definitely has the best story arc of the entire film. Now, that's not to discredit Miles Morales' role in this film. In fact, this is a character that to me is just getting better and better every time that I see him. This movie is 2 hours and 20 minutes long, and while on the surface that may seem like a very long runtime for an animated film, the filmmakers know how to utilize this runtime to the story's advantage, and one of the big ways that they do that is we get to spend a lot of time with Miles and his family in the first half of this film. And by having this longer runtime that allows them to do that, these scenes really get to breathe and they get really fleshed out. Miles and his family is one of the most authentic feeling families in any animated movie or series that I've ever seen. The movie is set about a year after Into the Spider-Verse, and in that way, Miles has grown so much in stepping into his own as Spider-Man. So we get to spend a lot of time with Miles as he's juggling his Spider-Man double life and all of the classic Spider-Man shenanigans that come with that. We equally get to see how that affects his parents and their relationship, and it provides such great dramatic tension and depth to these characters and their relationships. The writers and filmmakers just understand what the essence of a Spider-Man movie should be, and they completely nail it with this aspect of the film. So while the multiverse and the Spider People sequences of this movie are a lot of fun, it is that core and the humanity that the movie infuses into these characters that makes me care about them and what is going on at every second. I also love how this sequel challenges Miles Morales, because he is presented with a real inner conflict about his identity as Spider-Man and what that means once he's in the presence of Spider-Man 2099 and the rest of the Spider People, that I can't really get into because, spoilers. But I found it to not only be emotionally investing for the character and his story, but it also retroactively makes some aspects of Into the Spider-Verse even better. And as if the movie couldn't get any better, the humor and the wit is just as sharp and quick as it was in Into the Spider-Verse. Especially with this new villain introduced called Spot, who desperately wants to be Miles' nemesis. He's used as a through line throughout the entire movie, but every time this character was on screen, whatever he was doing, whatever he was saying, I was cracking up. And he also plays into that aspect of making things in Into the Spider-Verse retroactively better to me that I mentioned before. Again, no spoilers. Honestly, the negatives for me in this movie, they're pretty small. They're basically nitpicks. Like, Peter B. Parker's role is definitely reduced in this film compared to the first film. He doesn't really have that much to do in this one. He definitely falls more into the background. And honestly, the movie wouldn't change very much if he was completely removed. Originally, this was titled as Across the Spider-Verse Part 1, but they dropped the Part 1 and titled the next one Beyond the Spider-Verse instead. But this is definitely a Part 1 to this story. There are many things and expositions said that set up things that do not get resolved by the time this film ends. And the way this movie ends, it does kind of feel like a cliffhanger to the end of an episode of a TV show. You almost expect to hear, "Will Miles' Spidey senses get him out of this one, or is he a squashed bug? Find out next week. Same Spidey time, same Spidey channel." But I'm sure all of that won't matter once Beyond comes out. This movie's great. This movie was a lot of fun. I enjoyed this movie so much. The animation style, the voice acting is all great. You just feel the care that everyone is giving into making this movie, and the fact that they care so much about making this movie so great, we care about it so much more, and it's definitely up there. It's probably my favorite movie of the year at this moment. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, you definitely are getting a strong recommend. Guys, if you loved Into the Spider-Verse, if you just love Spider-Man in general, you gotta see this. But I'm sure many of you guys have already seen this, so that concludes all my thoughts and opinions, spoiler-free, of course, on Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. But what did you guys think of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse? Comment down below, let me know. I'd love to hear all your thoughts and opinions. If you're new here, we have a goal on this channel. We want to hit 2,500 subscribers before the end of the year. If you enjoy talking movies and you want to join our little community where we do that quite often, we'd love to have you join us. Consider hitting that subscribe button before you make your way out of here. It might sound a little bit different if you guys picked up on that. I am getting over a cold or getting a cold. I don't know. We'll find out which one it is, I'm sure, eventually. So I'm going to go rest my voice some more, and I hope to talk to you guys again real soon.